Hello, and welcome to day 26 of Practical English for Finance and Banking. Today we're going to finish up Unit 4, which talks about credit and debit cards. Last time we looked at the first few sections of the exercises here, talking about EPOS and EFT POS. We talked about chip and PIN payments, and today we're going to finish up the last section here, section D, and it says number these phrases from a part of a telephone conversation. So I want to make some changes to this, a little editing, which I asked you to do as homework. So hopefully you have thought of some of these ideas maybe, and if you didn't, then you can kind of fill in your paper or edit it a little bit as we go through this. So what I've done first of all is I've just taken this conversation, this dialogue, exactly as it is printed here, and I've just retyped it. I haven't changed anything here. I've just retyped it in a text box so that I can edit it, okay? But everything is exactly the same here. So, if we look at these expressions, this is somewhere in a phone conversation where you are using either a debit card or a credit card to purchase something. So this could be from an online retailer, or it could be from something like Amazon, which of course is an online retailer, where you have called to place an order, or to, if there was some problem with it, maybe you called, or maybe you saw something advertised on TV or on a website and they had a phone number for you to call. This could also work for like a hotel or airline reservation where you're making the payment over the telephone. There are quite a few situations where this might happen if you're doing some sort of phone order. So, what's the first part of this conversation? You've placed your order, you've got your total. What's the first part of this? The first thing they will ask you here is, can I take your credit or debit card details, please? Now, notice in the original one from the book, it just says, can I take credit or debit card details, please? That sounds a little awkward. They would want to take your credit or debit card details. Okay? So that's the first one. Now, do they need to know if it's a credit or a debit card? Usually not. But some places will ask, and in some cases it might make a difference. I can't think of one actually, but a lot of it depends on how their computer system is set up, what their entry, the entry, I guess you'd say the template looks like, what information they are required to enter, or how they are required to enter it. Some older systems especially might ask, is it a credit or a debit card? So if they ask that, of course, you would tell them which one it is. And they might even ask, is it a credit or a debit card? Again, most cases that won't matter, but if it does, of course, you would tell them that. So, credit or debit card details, please? What do you say? Sure, I have my card right here. Of course. All right. I have my card right here, which if you're placing something over the phone, an order, purchasing something, you should, of course, have your card handy. Maybe it's something unexpected, though. You might excuse me, you might have to say, just a moment while I get my card. Just a moment while I get my card, or let me get my card. In this case, he's got it handy. Sure, I have my card right here. Next, they would say something like, can you give me the card number, please? Can you give me the card number, please? And so the next step, of course, would be to give them the card number. It's 42935274387733005. No, don't do that. How would you read this, though? How would you read this number? Would you say it's 4,293, 5,274, 3,800? No. I wouldn't do it like that either. Could you say it's 4293, 5274, 3877, 3305? That would work. What I normally do, though, is I do it in groups of two. It's 4293, 5274, 3877, 3305. To say each number separately and clearly and distinctly. And that is about the speed I would actually do it, to make sure that there are no errors. All right. Now, a lot of people will go ahead and say what kind of card it is. They'll say, instead of saying it's 4293, they will say, well, how do we know what kind of card this is? It starts with 4293, and this was your little attendance check in our last class. This is kind of an oversimplified table, but it's basic, or it gives you a good start anyway. So this says if the card number starts with a 3, it's an American Express. Sometimes. Okay, not always. I would say if it starts with 37, that's American Express. If it starts with 4, it's generally a Visa. If it starts with 5, it's MasterCard. If it starts with 6, or especially 6011, that's a Discover card. Okay? How do you remember these? This is something I learned years ago, working in hotels. We usually say Visa and MasterCard. We usually say them in that order, Visa and MasterCard. So, Visa, MasterCard, 4, 5. This one comes first. This one comes second. It's just a simple little memory trick, but that's what I remember. So 37, especially 37, would be American Express. 4, Visa. 5, MasterCard. 6011, Discover. So this card number here is what? This is a Visa card. So a lot of people will say that. They'll say, so when the person asks, can you give me the card number? Most people will go ahead and say what kind of card it is. They'll say, yes, it's a Visa card. The number is 4293 5274 3877 3305. In some cases, the person asking, the person at the company, will ask, what kind of card is it? What type of credit card is it? They don't usually say what kind, they'll say what type of card is it? Because some of their computer systems require them to enter the card type before they can start entering the card number. All right? They have to select what type of card it is, maybe from one of those drop-down menus. And I'll show you some of those in a few minutes. So you might say, yes, it's a Visa card, and then give the number. And then the other person says, and the expiry date. The expiry date. That's British usage, okay? In the US, we would always say, and the expiration date, and the expiration date. Now, on credit cards, normally the date is written just as month and year. And so it would be, and it will usually say something like valid through 06/2020. Okay, valid through means it's good all the way through the month of June 2020. Valid means it's still good, it can still be used. Through means continuing through that date, not until, but through, which includes all of June 2020. Okay, so, and the expiration date, and the answer, of course, would be December 2011. We can say 2011 or 2011. Of course, this book is a little bit old, so now it would be something like December 2020 or December 2021. Okay. What else do they need? They've got the card number. They've got the expiration date. Next they need, and finally, the name as it's printed on the card. The name of the card holder. And that would be Mr. J.C. Smith. Now, Mr., the title, some credit cards will put a title, Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. or Doctor. Most of them don't, or at least it's not required. On credit cards I have had over the years, I don't know if I've ever had Mr. on the card. Okay? So Mr. J.C. Smith. Now, Mr. J.C. Smith. Smith is a pretty common name, so they would probably know how to spell that. But a lot of times people working in call centers are from overseas. In the U.S., a lot of the call centers are actually operated in India. And so some people have a fairly strong accent, so it might be harder to understand them. They may have trouble understanding American accents, perhaps. And also, Smith can be spelled in a few different ways, maybe with an I instead of a Y. I'm sorry, a Y instead of an I, or maybe with an E at the end. Okay, so there's a few different ways to spell it, but it's always a good idea for accuracy to spell it for them. So I would say, like, Mr. J.C. Smith, S-M-I-T-H. I do that for my name, Hall. It's a very simple name, but it also doesn't have any real distinct sounds. So a lot of times people might misunderstand it, or they're just not exactly sure how it's spelled. They might confuse it with something else. So I would say John Hall. And I always spell John as well, J-O-H-N, and the last name is Hall, H-A-L-L. That way there's no confusion, there's no mistake, even for a simple name like John, because Jonathan is a very common name, and people whose name is Jonathan, if they shorten it, it's normally just J-O-N. So somebody could be John, J-O-N, or, of course, like mine, J-O-H-N. I've even seen some people spell it J-H-O-N in certain countries. That seems to be a common spelling of it. So I always spell my first name and my last name. It's John Hall. That's John, Hall, Hall. So you'd want to spell it out to make sure that it's completely correct. Now, you'll notice that I'm adding a step here. I've got a blank here. And notice this said, and finally, the name as it's printed on the card. Well, I don't really think this is the final step. I think we need something else, okay? So, I'm changing this to, and the name as it's printed on the card, not finally. And then my final one here is, and finally, what's the security code? Because normally they will ask for this, okay? What is the security code? What are we talking about? Well, on the back of a card, for example, this would work for Visa card. There's the magnetic stripe here, this black stripe, and then there's a plastic area here where you're supposed to sign your name. And then they have your card number. Sometimes they will print the whole card number, or now what they're doing a lot of times is just the last 4 digits. And actually they've got this wrong. If you read this backwards, if you flipped this card over, it would be 00001534 5678 9000. But here they've just written 0009. They didn't do the reverse of that. So actually, when they made this little graphic, they did that wrong. So they have the last 4 digits of the card number, and then beside that, another 3 digits, and additional 3 digits that are not part of the actual card number. That's the security code, or what they call the CVV, or the CVC. Okay, there's a few other names for it too. So you need to give them that. So here they would just say the name that's printed on the card. Oh, Mr. J.C. Smith, SMITH. And finally, what's the security code? Oh, you look at the card, and usually that number it's always very small, very tiny print. So it would look something like this. I will type it over here, and it would actually look something like this. Let me go to the Arial font, and it would be probably like an Arial narrow, and as small as you can make it, not bold. So that's about what it would look like. Very tiny number. So people are like, it's 358? Okay. Usually those numbers are pretty hard to read. So you give them the security code, and then they'd say, that's fine. Your payment has gone through. That's fine. Sounds a little awkward to me. I would say something more like, thank you. Okay, instead of that's fine. Thank you. Your payment has been approved. You could also say, like, thank you. Your card has been approved. Or the opposite of approved would be, I'm sorry, your card has been declined. If your card has been declined, it has not been approved, and you cannot use it for this purchase. It may be a fraud protection measure. Maybe you're using it online, or you're making 2 purchases for the same amount, or you're using it overseas. So sometimes these things, sometimes the credit card system will automatically decline your card if they suspect, if there's some sort of suspicious activity. Sometimes they'll call you. Sometimes they'll approve it and then call you right away. I've had that happen, like when I've been in the U.S. and I've used my Korean credit card. After I use it, I'll get, like, sometimes just almost immediately, I will get a phone call from my bank here in Korea asking me if I used the card, asking me if the purchase amount is correct, which is pretty impressive, actually, how quickly they do that. With my U.S. credit cards, I don't know that they've ever called me. They have declined charges. And what happens more often is if it looks a little suspicious, if they question it, they'll usually send an email and ask you, did you make this purchase? Is this a valid transaction? And that's where a credit card is safer than a debit card. If it's a debit card and the money comes out of your account, it's much more difficult to get back. If it's a credit card, they don't pay the merchant immediately. So if it's a fraudulent transaction, if there's an error, it's much easier to cancel it, to stop the payment, and you will not be held responsible for those charges. So you're much safer by using a credit card, and that's one of the things that Frank Abagnale was talking about, how credit cards are safer than debit cards. You have a lot more protection. You actually have protection, whereas with a debit card you really don't. Okay, so but hopefully this won't happen. They will not say your card has been declined, so they could say, thank you, your transaction has been approved, or your purchase has been approved. These are all acceptable ways to say it, depending on what you're doing. Your order has gone through. If you're ordering something online, a computer or some supplements or something like that, your order has gone through. That would also work. Okay, so that is basically the conversation. That is a little bit expanded and modified from what the book has, and I think this is a little more accurate representation of the dialogue that would happen. So if we look at credit card types, of course we just have the logos for American Express, MasterCard, Visa, Diners Club, and JCB. Diners Club was one of the first cards developed. It was actually set up, like it says, for diners. I believe it was in New York City, where basically a wealthy businessman was out for dinner, didn't have his wallet, and that gave him the motivation, the idea of creating like a charge system, where people could charge their meals. And I believe then it expanded into hotels, but it was basically for business people going out for business dinners and drinking and things like that, and to give them an option if they didn't have their wallet or enough cash. I love on this thing how my arm just totally disappears and my hand my hand is just floating in midair here. I love that. But Diners Club was one of the first, and then it expanded over the years, got more customers, and became much more widely accepted. So if we look at a basic credit card here, just some of the features, you see the EMV chip. That's the little metallic area on the card. Of course, the issuer logo, the bank logo, your account number, your name printed there, good through, that's the expiration date. And notice they use sort of the shortened version sometimes of through, like they do on drive-thrus. This is sort of an informal contraction. Good through 10/20, which would be October of 2020. A lot of times they just use the 2-digit year. We have the magnetic strip or stripe here. Then we have the signature box. This is where you should sign your name. This, of course, is the CVC. And normally on the back of a credit card, there's the customer service number, the bank phone number. And of course they usually write it also like tiny like this, so it's almost impossible to read, which I don't understand. I've never understood why they make the phone number so hard to read. I don't understand the purpose of that. So if we look at the back of the card, in this box they want your authorized signature. That should match what they have on file for you. So if you sign a receipt at a store, at a merchant, they can match that. And if it doesn't match, then they could say, oh, this isn't a valid charge. One thing that's happened, especially with these touch screens or the little the payment terminals, those little screens, even if you try to actually sign your name, it doesn't look the same. They skip spaces, and it doesn't feel like writing on paper, so the pen slides differently, so they look terrible usually. So a lot of times with those, people just make a scribble, or even at stores here a lot of times, especially convenience stores, I see the clerk a lot of times, they just make a line with their finger. They don't even try to get you to sign. So again, here's that little table again. American Express, Visa, MasterCard, and Discover cards. So if we look at this one, the issuing bank is Bank of America, and their logo here. What kind of card is this? Well, it starts with 37, so 3774. This would be an American Express card. Now, notice with American Express, how many digits does this card have? How many digits are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There are 15 digits. And for American Express, often we abbreviate it as Amex. Okay, if you want to look more proper, maybe you could do a capital E, Amex, American Express. 15 digits. And notice how they're grouped here. 4 digits, 6 digits, and 5 digits. That's how they're grouped. And again, we have the valid through, the expiration date. Of course, this is a sample. It's not a real card. Some cards will show like member since. This is the year that you opened your account. And then, of course, the the card member's name down here. In the U.S., it would be like first name, middle initial or name, and last name. This one, beginning with a 4. Notice this one says valid from. They actually have a month and a year when it started, and expires or ends on this date. The sample name here is just A Citizen, first initial and name. What kind of card is this? This is a Visa. How many digits are there? We have 4 groups of digits, each with 4 digits, so we have 16 digits. What about this one? This is from Citibank, and this is a branded card with American Airlines. This is the American Airlines Mileage Club Advantage. Platinum card. Again, they have a valid from, which some cards have, many don't. And then an expiration date here. L. Walker, and member since 13. So apparently that's when they first opened the account. This is the first card on this account. So, what kind of card is this? Beginning with a 5, that would be a MasterCard. I'm just going to put an MC here. How many digits are on the MasterCard? Again, we have 4 groups of 4 numbers, so that would again be 16 digits. Then we have this one, 6011. Here the name is Lee M. Cardholder. So first name, middle initial, last name. Club member since, valid through. And then they have their company name on here. So this is like a corporate card. Notice here it's Sam's Business. Sam's Club is a warehouse club, like E-Mart Traders or Costco. Except Sam here comes from Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart. So Sam's is like the warehouse store cousin to Walmart stores. So this is a corporate card, ABC Distributors, Inc. So what kind of card is this? Beginning with a 6011, that would be a Discover card. What is Discover? What is a Discover card? Well, one of the largest retailers in the U.S. In years past was Sears. They had mail order catalogs back in like the 1800s. These huge, and I remember when I was a kid, these huge catalogs full of pictures of products, of toys and clothes and appliances and household items and I'm sure furniture and farm equipment. They sold everything. And it was this really thin paper, very delicate, or not so delicate, but very thin paper. You'd have they'd have these huge catalogs, and you could order for mail order, not online. That was before the internet, but through the mail to have all sorts of products delivered. Well, Sears had a financial services division, and a number of years ago, they made their own credit card, which they called a Discover card. This was direct competition to Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. And at first, it was like, why? We don't need another credit card, and there didn't seem to be any real need for it. But they were trying to compete against well-established brands, but they did it. And they did some things like no annual fee and low interest, some things to draw in customers. They had special relationships with some merchants. For example, Sam's Club, the only credit card they would accept was Discover card. They did not take MasterCard or Visa or American Express. They only accepted Discover. That has changed now. But it's like in Korea, at Costco, in the past, you could only use a Samsung card. Okay? Of course, Samsung issues Visa, MasterCard, and American Express cards. So it wasn't limited to the type of card, but the issuing bank. So a little different system. Discover now is a huge credit card company. Mostly in the U.S., or I'd say mainly in the U.S., but some international use as well. In Korea, the only way I know for sure I can use it is there are certain ATMs. I can take like a cash withdrawal, cash advance. And I've done that in Thailand also. I've gotten cash with it, but I haven't been able to, I can't use it at a grocery store or a hotel or something. It's not nearly as widely accepted as Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. But it is a great card. They have a lot of special promotions. You get cash back and no annual fee. So it's a pretty good credit card to have, a useful card to have. How many digits are there on a Discover card? Again, 4 groups of 4. So Discover cards also have 16 digits. There's also Diners Club here. It starts with a 3, okay? And it has 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 digits. So not as many. And here's another Diners Club. This one is a MasterCard, so it starts with a 5 and it has 16 digits. So there's some differences here. Diners Club doesn't have the others don't change. Visa always starts with 4. MasterCard always starts with 5. Discover always starts with 6011. Diners Club changes, okay? This is actually a MasterCard Diners Club, which I'm not sure how that works because they're both card issuers. But they've got that. This one, starting with 3562, 16 digits as well. This one is a JCB card, okay, which is also accepted pretty widely international. Now, in the U.S., when I worked at hotels and restaurants, I rarely saw one of these. I would see Diners Club sometimes, but mostly Visa and MasterCard. So if you're looking at an online form to enter credit card numbers, if you're ordering something online or making a hotel reservation, this is kind of the old style. My mouse is not acting right. This is kind of the old style where you have to choose the card type. So there's a little arrow here, a drop-down menu. So this is a Visa, and then you would enter the card number, 16 digits, expiration date, month and year, and the security code, the 3-digit code. More modern systems, notice I have the check mark here, this is better. You type the card number. So here you start typing the 4815, it automatically recognizes that's a Visa card. That's a better system. It's a smarter system, a more efficient system, and customers don't have to go here, click on the drop-down menu, select which card type it is, then go down here. So it saves time as well, and it's more accurate. Here's another one where you choose a method of payment. So you choose a credit card. They take Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover. And again, you don't have to select the card type. You start typing. Oh, it says 4356. That's a Visa card. So that's the one that's in color here. That's the one that's highlighted. Expiration date, year, and card verification number using a different term. I've seen security number, security code, card verification number, CVC, and so on. There's many different ways to ask for this number. And they show the little diagram here. On the back of the card, you see the magnetic stripe, and then the numbers at the end. Here's another one where they have a few different cards. They have like Maestro and Visa Electron as well. Card number, expiration date, month, and year. CVV, and then the name on the card. Here's one where they have the title, Mr. And here's one of those menus where you have to select the card type. There's a drop-down menu with the arrows there. Code. And it says here, a lot of these will say, that's the last 3 digits on the back of the card. And then they have this on certain cards, an issue number. I've never seen one of those. I have no idea what that is. Here again, the different credit cards they take: Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, Diners Club, and JCB. When you enter the card number here, when you enter this 3700, it says, that's American Express, and it knows that's 4 digits, 6 digits, 5 digits. It knows how to divide them. Expiration date, month and year, and security code. Notice this one is 4 digits, because on American Express, there's 2 different numbers. This shows a Visa. You can see from the logo here, the 16-digit card number and the 3-digit verification number on the back. On this one, this is the image here for American Express. Notice it starts with a 37, 4 digits, 6 digits, 5 digits. Printed somewhere in this area, there's a 4-digit verification code. Okay. On this American Express card, or here they show an American Express card with that 4-digit number on the front. On Discover, MasterCard, and Visa, it's just that 3-digit number on the back. So on American Express, there's a 4-digit number on the front here. Discover, 3 digits on the back. MasterCard, starting with a 5, 3 digits on the back. Visa, starting with a 4, 3 digits on the back. Notice on all of these, they print the entire card number on the back. They don't do that a lot of times now, I guess for security reasons. Now, on this American Express card, again, you can see the 4 digits, 6 digits, 5 digits, the 4-digit number there. On the back of this American Express card, there's also a 3-digit number. And so I've noticed using my card online, using the American Express, sometimes they want the number, the 3-digit number on the back. It also has that. Or sometimes they want the 4-digit number on the front. So just be aware that there are both numbers there. Okay. There's also a way, and one of you posted this in the responses from our last class about the credit card numbers. There's a method, a strategy, or an algorithm to verify credit card numbers. Here they wrote Vista instead of Visa to avoid the copyright. But we have 4 digits, 4 groups of 4 digits. This begins with a 4, so that would be a Visa card. And the first digit is what they call the major industry identifier. 1 and 2 are airlines, so like an airline credit card would start with a 1 or a 2. 3 is travel and entertainment. Travel and entertainment. So that would include American Express and Diners Club cards. 4 and 5, banking and financial. So that is MasterCard and Visa. 6, merchandising and banking. That would include Discover, which was from Sears Financial Services. And then they have others here, which I've never seen. Okay. Then this shows what all of these numbers mean, where they come from. The first 6 digits are the issuer identification number. That identifies the institution, the bank that did it. And again, they show down here. Discover, I've only ever seen the 6011, but I guess there are some variations, maybe for corporate cards or something. But this tells you like the 7th and following digits, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So from here to here, that's your account number. Lots of combinations there, 1 trillion combinations. And the last digit is the check digit. It validates the credit card number using some algorithm. So there is a way to actually check a credit card number using this code. So here's one, again, it shows the major industry, the bank, the customer account number, and that checksum number, that check identifier. Take a credit card. I think probably all of you have some sort of credit card or a debit card. I assume this works for debit cards also. I haven't actually tried it. So try it. Let me know if it works. But take out one of your credit cards and look at the credit card number. Okay, so you'll have, for example, this is a Visa, 4 digits, 4 digits, 4 digits, 4 digits. So 16 digits total. Okay, it says double every digit, every other digit from the right. So start on the right and double every other digit. Okay, so here they've written out the number. Okay, this line and this line are exactly the same. Starting on the right, double every other digit. So we don't double the 3, but the 1, we double it. So 1 times 2 is 2. Don't double the 1. 9 times 2 is 18. Don't double. 7 times 2 is 14. Don't double it. 5 times 2 is 10. Skip the 4. 3 times 2 is 6. Skip the 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Skip the 7. 1 times 2 is 2. Skip the 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Now we add these new digits to the undoubled ones. So here's the ones we just doubled, and these are the ones that are not doubled. The 3, we just bring it down. The 1, we bring it down. The 8, the 6, the 4, the 2, the 7, and the 4. We just bring those down. Now, all double-digit numbers are added as a sum of their digits. So 14 is 1 plus 4. Okay, so we add all these together. 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 7. Okay, the first 4 digits there. 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 7. Plus 2, 2, 6, and 4. That's those. Plus 10. 10 becomes 1 plus 0. Plus 6. 14 becomes 1 plus 4. Plus 8. 18 becomes 1 plus 8. Plus 1. Plus 2 plus 3. Add all of that up and we get 70. If the final sum is divisible by 10, so if it's a multiple of 10, so if it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, if it can be divided by 10, the credit card number is valid. If it's not divisible by 10, it's invalid or fake. So try it and see. This is your homework, or this is your attendance check today, is take out one of your cards and try this calculation and tell us if your card is valid, if your card number is valid, if it's like a real number, or if it's fake. Okay? If it's fake, check your math. Check the calculation again. You've probably done something wrong. Hopefully you don't actually have a fake, invalid credit card. If you're using it, it's probably a real number. So check it, make sure it's right, okay? Alright, so that is your attendance check today, to do that little exercise. Okay, that is everything for today, and actually that is everything for the semester. You have presentations coming up next week. On Monday, they are due at class time. As soon as I get them, as soon as I get all of them, I will put them into a Google form with everybody's name and the YouTube link for their video. I will send that to you, and your lecture, your class attendance, your homework for the next 3 days, your next week and a half, is to watch those videos and comment on them. Okay, what did you learn? What was interesting? What was confusing? Do you have questions? Some sort of reaction, response, reply to each of those videos. If we were listening to those presentations in class, it would take us 3 class days. For a class this size to do all of those, we would easily spend 3 entire class days listening to those presentations and doing questions and answers. So that's what we're going to use for these presentations. 3 class days, and then of course on the 25th of June will be your final exam. Okay, I'll be in touch with you, of course, before then on Kakao, just updating you and reminding you of what's coming. But that is it for today. Good luck on your presentations, and I look forward to seeing those next week. Have a great weekend.